All right, we're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to go with roll call. Senator Thompson. Senator Tao. Senator Good.
Proxy.
Senator Johnson. Here. Senator Seeley. Senator Kintan.
Here.
Senator Collis. Here. Senator Warner.
Here.
Senator Hebert.
Here.
Senator Higgs. Here. Senator Bach.
Present.
Senator Mercer. Actually, that's my bad. Senator Mercer is now dropped from Science and Engineering Technology Senator. Senator Paul.
Proxy.
Senator Pesco.
Here.
Senator Dominguez.
Here.
Senator Imtiaz.
Here.
Senator Esniji.
Here.
Senator Christensen.
Here.
Senator Pope.
Here.
Senator Hoja.
Here.
Senator Meyer.
Here.
Senator Hickey. Senator Rowe. Senator Saar.
Here.
Senator Vega.
Here.
Senator Cronin.
Here.
Senator Hogan Falami. Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Trenny.
Here.
Senator Whitty.
Here.
President Abdulaziz. Vice President Kramer.
Here.
All right. We'll move into presentations, and the first one we have is by Todd.
Good afternoon, everyone. Todd Fingston from Campus Recreation. Kickball a week from today. So I hope everybody's going to be there, and I hope we've got enough student affairs staff as well. I'm here to talk to you today about Auto Recreation Center guest passes. Has anybody utilized a guest pass in here as far as senators go? Anyone? I'm going to run through this. I'm going to run through it fairly quickly. But currently, it's free. And what happens is, we don't promote this because of the free portion to our students, faculty, and staff, membership holding faculty and staff. But students will send us an email, or they'll stop by the office and say, hey, I'd like to bring in a guest. Okay, it's free. I just need their name, age, where they're from, and dates they're going to be here. I need to know their age because we don't allow minors in the facility other than Sundays from 1 to 6 p.m. It's family time. So they provide that information, and they're responsible because they have to sponsor that guest into the facility. So that makes them responsible. We require our guest to show a picture ID. It's been going on for quite a few years. And initially, when we rolled out this program, making it free, it wasn't very often that we would get those requests, but now it's more often, and the same person's requesting the same people in, and it's almost like these people almost have a free membership. But initially, when we were going through the process and I was thinking about it, I thought to myself, you know what, this could be a revenue stream. Why don't we charge? And then logistically, we weren't doing online registration 15, 17 years ago. We weren't doing those kinds of things. Online payments, things like that, at least Campus Recreation wasn't. And I thought, I've got potentially 50 different students working at the front desk at Otto. I don't want them to be handling cash. And that's why I just dropped it and said, let's make it free. But now I think times have changed. We do almost everything online with registration and paying fees and doing all those kinds of things. So the game is a little different. The guests cannot check out equipment. The sponsor would have to check out the equipment, meaning the current student, faculty, or staff member. The goal, like I said, always was maybe to give them a day or two, but again, there's been repeats, and sometimes they'll go to a different staff member, and administratively it's very tough to monitor that and say, you've had 4 guest passes in the last 6 months or whatever, you can't come in anymore. We haven't done that. We've just kind of let it happen. But it's like some of these people are now abusing the privilege. Long periods of time that they'll request and do it multiple times. To me, the guests are using your facilities and your equipment, and they're not paying anything for it. Like you're paying student fees to Campus Rec, and Campus Rec is heavily subsidized by your student activity fee. We can't sell memberships to the general public. We can't be in competition with the city gyms, the YMCA, the private gyms, things like that. So the only way that somebody who's a general public person could use our facility as a guest, yes, or membership-wise, they'd have to become a friend or a donor to the institution. And years ago, we set up this policy. We said, it's going to be a minimum, one-time, $250 donation to any department at the university. Then that makes them eligible to be able to purchase a membership because they've truly become a friend of the institution. You couldn't just donate $10 and then have the ability to go buy a rec center membership. So we made it $250. We probably get a handful, maybe 5 a year, that people will do that. The general public want to work out with our students and want to use the rec center. And so that's the only option that they really have. Ben Nelson in our office, and Ben, where are you here, Ben? Yeah, Ben's here. He did some research on this to find out, hey, what are our peer institutions doing? And here's what we found out. Winona State does not let guests in at all. So if your friend comes for the weekend, or even a family member comes for the weekend, they don't let them in. St. Cloud State charges $8 a day, sponsored by a student. Bemidji State charges $7 a day, but they're also open to the general public, so they don't need a sponsorship. So they just let them in. And so does MSU Moorhead, and they also charge $7 a day, and they're open like Bemidji to the general public. So if we go down this road and charge, we think at least $5 would be fair. And our peers are charging more. They're charging $6, $7, $8, and $8 per day. Then I went back and took a look at, hey, if we do this, what kind of revenue stream would we make? Because I look at memberships and locker rentals and all those kinds of things, and we have budgets and goals, and we usually never meet those. Not quite. I mean, it's always our goal to sell out all of our lockers, but we don't. It's always our goal to sell more memberships to alums and faculty staff, and we market that, but there's just a certain number that we do sell. And I'm thinking, staff salaries increase, student hourly wages increase slightly, right? Why not have another little revenue stream? And I went back and I spent 10 minutes of those people who request guest passes to me, and they also request through Ben, through Carly, and through Ryan in our office, and sometimes Sam. Since the beginning of the school year, I've given out at least 70 guest passes, and some of those are multiple. In fact, most of those are multiple. So I just did the math throughout the course of the year, and I think this could be a minimum of a $2,000 revenue stream, which could help with increased salaries and student hourly and things like that. I mean, I really look at it, and I look at it seriously. Last Friday, our Campus Rec Fee Advisory Committee met just to talk about that piece of it, and it was our first meeting on what that fee is all about. But then we also talked about this item, and we discussed it at length. And it was unanimous that they thought charging a fee for guest passes makes sense. Joel Wolf is on that committee, Gabe Rasky, and also Katie Erden. So we have 3 students, and then our professional staff are also at that meeting. We do have a few free weekends. Those are family weekend. We allow all families in for free, and those are minors. Those are families, friends, and also homecoming weekend. When our alums come back, we want to show them our facilities and see how things have changed, and we allow that as a free weekend. We do a trial period, membership trial period, a free trial period during winter break for faculty staff, because sometimes those New Year's resolutions roll around. So we give them, the month of December and early January for a free trial period, in hopes that, their health and wellness is important to them, and that they'll buy a rec center membership versus going off campus. As far as logistically how we would do this, we would do it all online. Here's the other thing I failed to mention. Oftentimes, these requests will come to us when we're in the business or when we have business hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But also nights and weekends, and we don't always check our email nights and weekends, even though we have iPhones and a lot of different access electronically these days. I don't spend all my time checking my emails on nights and weekends. And sometimes we get many students who on the spur of a moment have a friend coming into town, and it's a night or a weekend, and now they can't get them into the rec center because we don't respond to our emails because we don't look at it. So if we did things online, they could do it right in their iPhone and purchase the student would have to use their Star ID and password, log in, and put this, they're the sponsor, put the guest name, age, all those kinds of things, where they're from, because they're still going to be responsible, and they would have to be with them to work out. But it wouldn't be, to me, it wouldn't be an additional fee charged to the student. If the student so chooses to pay for that guest pass, they can. But otherwise, they log in and use their guest credit card or whatever, or debit card, and pay that fee, pay that guest pass fee. So that's just a little synopsis of what we're looking at. But in the interest of transparency, I bring it to you as a student senate, because if we just roll this out and don't share it with you, and we get upset students because they've said, you know, we've had guest passes for free all along and now they're charging us and I'm not happy about it, at least you know about it, and my hopes is that you'll give us your blessing to do this. And I stand for questions.
All right, first question I see is from Vice President Kramer.
Thank you, Todd, for coming. I don't see anything wrong with charging for guest passes. I think if our peer institutions are doing it. I just do have one question regarding the open gym that Moorhead and Bemidji have.
Open to the public?
Yeah, so the public doesn't have to pay?
The public has to pay, but they don't need a sponsor to get in. So you could have anybody off the street walk up and buy a guest pass and use their facilities.
So, but we wouldn't do that.
We would not do that. You would still, you as a student would still have to sponsor your guest into the facility and physically be there working out with them, because you're responsible for their actions. And that's the way it currently is. So really, the only thing we're looking at changing is charging a fee for these guest passes and not just allowing it for free. There's logistical things that Campus Rec would have to work through, you know, setting up the online payments and making sure, you know, immediately when it gets approved, that credit card gets approved for that guest pass, it pops right into a computer right in front of our students at the rec center that say, oh, yep, guest pass paid. And they can show a picture ID, that guest can show a picture ID and the MAV card of our student or our faculty staff sponsor, and they get in to work out. So really nothing changes a whole lot other than they pay.
Logistically, do you know how many students a month do you use the guest pass?
Well, since the end of August, I've personally had 70 requests, but some of those are multiple day. And I don't even know how many Ben has had, or Carly, or Ryan. I just pulled this information together in the last day or so. So I get multiple a day, probably 1 to 2 a day. I bet I get at least 7 to 10 a week, something around there, maybe 7.
How long has the conversation been going on about charging the students for guest passes?
Probably for a year. I've contemplated this since we initially gave guest passes out 12 years ago when the rec center opened. I've been contemplating this in my mind, but as a staff, we've talked about it for probably well over a year, and it's always been, we don't want our students handling cash because there's so many of them at Otto. Could be up to 50 different students throughout the course of a week. It just doesn't seem that secure enough for what we'd like to accomplish with it.
So with, last one. So with that concern still being a thing, if this is implemented, what's being put in place? Because your concern was students handling it in terms of if we do start charging $5, what's in place now to, I guess, ease your concern?
Well, it would be all online payment. We would accept. Yep, everything would be online. There would be no cash or check or anything accepted. It would be all online. So whether you had your iPhone or computer-wise, you know, you could even do it at Einstein's. There's computers down at Einstein's. They're in the racquetball court area. We're going to do some tech rec things. We'll have new computers inside the rec center. But almost everybody's got an iPhone.
Senator Sinchi?
I yield.
All right, any other questions? In front?
Are you envisioning it being they would pay with a card, or it would be charged with their e-services account?
A card. Good question. Again, I don't see this as a fee for students unless they want to pay.
So if they were to change where you charge student or guests $5, would you promote this program more? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know this is available right now.
You know, currently we don't promote.
Right.
Because it's free and we're taking facility time away from you, our fee-paying student. So that might change. You know, we'll talk about those types of things, but our number one priority is you. It really is. And then our membership holding faculty and staff and alums, and then donors who have memberships.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the assumption would be if we charge for this membership, I do think that the number would probably go down a little bit due to the lack of convenience of having to shell out money.
Yeah, I think you're
but
right.
Todd's numbers are conservative when he says that, because I for one know that on Fridays at 4 p.m. we have a parade of students coming in trying to get a guest pass for their significant other or visitor, something like that. So we all kind of get used for guest passes through the semester. So I think his numbers were spot on, but I do think students would be less hesitant for guest, or they'd be more hesitant with guest passes if they had to shell out $5.
Are there any other questions?
Is it not possible logistically, like at least to give like the students like a couple of freebies a semester, and after that, from like if the guest comes more often, up more than 2 times a semester, then we charge them $5 or whatever the fee you guys decide on?
You know, my personal opinion is we go free or charge. Administratively, it's difficult to monitor all that. Could we? We could. I just had a conversation with my counterpart at St. Cloud State today, Ron Sebring, he's the director, and I said, how long have you had guest passes in place? How does it work? How does it go? And he said, we charge, their students want to get into their sports bubble in the winter and play soccer. So they have 40, 50 people will be lined up to look for sponsors. They don't even have sponsors that are friends. He said it really doesn't work so well in their situation. But I think it could work in ours. I really do, because it works now, and charging a little bit could certainly work. But he's, they went from free to charging, and he has reservation about that. But I know the other institutions, because most charge. When I was at Nebraska 20 years ago, they charged back then for guests, and it worked just fine.
Senator Sneedy?
I think, can I use a comment?
Sure.
I think it's a good idea, since we as students have to pay fees to use the center, and then so why not charge other people who do not pay those fees to go in? I think it's an amazing idea, and I think people should be charged to use it for free. Because like last year when I don't use it much now, but when I used to use the gym, for example, it was so cluttered. Like, if me as a student, I'm going to wait forever to like use an equipment. If there's guests too, and they're not paying for it, and I'm not paying for it, I just don't see it. Like, I don't think it's fair. So I think it's a good idea to charge guests.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming here and presenting to us.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Joe Wolf. Talk about Maverick Adventures.
This was Sam Steiger. So we'll be using the slideshow here. We'll be talking about Maverick Adventures. Again, my name is Joe Wolf. Many of you know me as Foxy in many weeks now. But a few months ago, so March of 2017, there was a survey sent to all current students regarding the Maverick Adventures survey. And we'll be talking about the results right here. So take it away, Sam.
So last year in right around January, we started developing this survey. We were awarded a grant through an organization called the Association for Outdoor Recreation and Education, AOR, and this grant was for $5,000 to help us research this idea. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the grant as we go. So if I refer to the grant, we had some money that helped us do this survey, and I'll tell you what we spent the money on and how it helped in that way. For the most part, we were looking at 2 things during this survey. We wanted to know willingness to pay. We wanted to know interest in outdoor recreation programming. And I guess we also wanted to hear about some barriers. What's holding you as a student back from participating in outdoor recreation activities? So that's kind of the need. Our research question was centered around student willingness to pay, as well as barriers for outdoor recreation. And so the survey was developed by a team of grad students, undergrad students, and then a bunch of professors from the RPLS area, and some of the staff members in campus rec, professional staff. Many of you know Dave Childers, who was here last year. He was my graduate assistant for Maverick Adventures, and he put a significant amount of work and time into this survey. The concept of Maverick Adventures is looking at trip and travel programming, so being able to leave campus on an excursion. Maybe it's just a day trip going rock climbing in southern Minnesota. Maybe it's going caving. Maybe it's going to the Boundary Waters, canoeing. But any kind of outdoor travel in that trip and travel setting, that's the words that we use, is trip and travel. Also looking at the concept of an outdoor rental center. A lot of times students can't afford kayaks and other expensive equipment, so being able to pick those up on campus and rent them. And then lastly, to be offering skills clinics and certifications, ways that you can get better at being proficient in the outdoors, as well as learn new things, maybe learn how to cross-country ski or learn how to tie knots for rock climbing, that kind of stuff. Part of the grant that we got involved us creating an informational video, and this informational video was sent out as a link prior to the survey that went out to students. The survey was pretty quick. I think it probably took 5 or 6 minutes. I believe that there were 35 different questions, but there was logic in there, so if you answered one way, it would steer you to it would take the questions that don't fit out. And so you kind of move around through this. This video, Joe, you're going to have to take the cursor onto the screen over here and down to the play button. Wow. This video is the result of it, and this was actually produced by Dave Childers, myself, and a student named Luke Krunagel, who stepped up just to help us out. There's some sound.
Hello, I'm Dave Childers, here to share information about an exciting opportunity taking shape here at Minnesota State University, Mankato. It is called Maverick Adventures. Maverick Adventures is a campus recreation outdoor program. Outdoor recreation programs, like Maverick Adventures, are designed to enhance the out-of-classroom college experience for all students through their unique ability to foster connections and develop a sense of community, provide opportunities for personal growth, enhance wellness, and develop lifelong skills. Maverick Adventures will include an outdoor equipment rental center, provide events and excursions, offer a variety of skill development courses and certifications, and still has the potential to grow and provide many other services. Many outdoor recreation programs at universities and colleges across the country have rental centers that provide students with the equipment that they need for outdoor and recreational adventures. These rental centers provide the newest and best gear for the students who might not have equipment for themselves, all at a reasonable cost. Rental equipment can vary from large items that the students may not own, like kayaks, cross-country skis, bikes, or canoes, to smaller items such as coolers, beanbag sets, tents, sleeping bags, or even backpacks. The rental of equipment can be for a short period of time, for a weekend trip, or for a longer period of time, like a semester-long use of a bike. Imagine being able to learn how to surf in California over spring break, or maybe being able to spend 8 days in the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. You can also try stand-up paddleboarding on a local lake, or even enjoy snowshoeing for an afternoon in the woods down the hill from campus. Many academic degrees often partner with outdoor recreation programs to help enhance their classes. Instead of reading about a river's ecology, a class might take a canoe trip down the river and study the ecology firsthand. Or an art class might take a hike to a scenic overlook to learn how to paint landscapes. Almost all degrees require students to take some sort of elective credits to graduate. So imagine being able to get credit to learn to kayak, climbing, backpacking, or even fishing. By providing the students of Minnesota State University Mankato with a program like Maverick Adventures, we are offering opportunities to develop our students into global leaders and lifelong learners.
So Dave and I worked on getting some of the footage. We actually went out and did photo shoots with students, got some of that video stuff, and the rest of it we got from some friends. Nicollet Bike Shop provided some mountain biking stuff for us. We took some of our own photos from our own adventures to provide that background. So that kind of previewed the survey. The survey went out. Joe, go ahead and hit it. The survey went out. We had some hiccups in it, and I'm not sure. Oh, yep, I see Brian Schneider's here. Brian really was a great help for this, because the first time we sent it out was on 10/23 of 2017. That might not be the right date. because I think it was 1/23. I think that's a typo on my bad. But it was in early January. It only went to 8,200 people. We were able to look into the IT email servers and see that for some reason an all-student email just didn't work, and we don't know why. So it was frustrating. We tried to work through it, and an IT solutions staff member kind of got pinpointed onto it. And about 2 weeks later, after the survey went out, we were able to send it out, and it went to 16,051 people. So we were able the second week to send it out to a bigger sample. We had 525 respondents. That's a response rate of about 3.27%. I know that that's not what I wanted in the response rate. I really wanted it to be a little higher, like 1,000. But statistically speaking, it's still a pretty good chunk to look at. And I know that there were some questions about the validity of who answered, but the survey went out via email to every student, and that's really it. We didn't put a link to the survey anywhere. We didn't Facebook with the survey on Facebook. We didn't go to RPLS classes and just have students in these classes answer. It simply went out to all students, and if they filled it out, they filled it out. We did some tabling, but the tabling was in the union, hey, go take the survey, or here's an iPad if you want to take the survey. Okay. The question that we were looking at, Joe's going to dive into the data, but we looked at all different things, some demographic stuff, so that later on we can move into some, if we want to research how a certain ethnicity responded to the survey, or maybe it's gender association, whichever genders they associate with. We could go through a multitude of the demographics and really pinpoint the data, and we actually have been doing that with some of the RPLS professors. Right now we're just showing you the overview of the response, the general data reporting. Joe and I have like a 30-page document of all the data responses. Go ahead, bud.
And we didn't want to bore you with going through a PDF of 30 pages, so we kind of broke it down, and this is the response to the question of what do you support a creation of outdoor rec program? 69% strongly support, and somewhat support is 22%. That is what, 91% of respondents would either strongly support or somewhat support a outdoor recreation program on campus. So this is really telling of those students of what they need on campus and what they would like to get involved with. Next slide. And we broke it down even more, just asking about the trip and travel program and the likelihood of participating in a trip and travel program. So very likely 40% and likely 38%. That's 78% of respondents. Unlikely 12, very unlikely 6, will not participate 4%. So even 78% of students would like to partake in a trip and travel program of some sort, if it's for credit, earning credits towards their degree, graduating 4 years, or just a fun spring break or vacation, or go rock climbing in Utah. There's different degrees of involvement there. So we also asked the question of students willing to pay per semester in student fees. I broke this down into 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, 21 to 25, and 26 to 30. What is this, units? Dollars?
Yeah.
Dollars. Okay, so this is dollars per student pay. So the highest you see, and it's even building up to that point, 73 respondents would be willing to pay $16 to $20 per semester for this to be implemented. But increasingly, there's still a response wherever you see it.
It was interesting because we asked the question two ways. We asked per credit, how much would you want to pay? And per semester, how much would you pay? And the data really kind of came back reflecting almost the same stuff. Students don't necessarily understand the per credit fee that we often talk about and we understand in this room, because there's a banded amount. Just sometimes it doesn't add up. So we asked it two ways, and when you look at the data, it comes out pretty similar, right in that, what is it, 10 to 15? How did you break it down?
6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20.
Yeah.
So then we also asked the question, what are the possible barriers that maybe you don't want to participate in outdoor activities? We got 4 or 5 pages of just respondents because there wasn't like an open-ended click a button. It was just type it in your answer. We got 26 none or NA. Like they'd be willing to participate in other recreations and there's no barriers preventing them not to. But there's also some other respondents as well. Lack of affordable equipment on campus. There you go. Right now you can only rent, students were able to rent canoes, tents, and snowshoes. That's all we have. So there is lack of affordable equipment on campus. There's one outfitter in town that I know of, and they're super expensive, and students would not want to pay that. As well, we also got a disability of some sort. Yes, I did categorize this as if they said a physical or mental disability. We got 7 response. And then time for not having ability and schedule, 3. There's a lot of other response that didn't have a common theme, didn't fit in a certain group, so it didn't incorporate this because this would just be a huge long list and you don't want to see all that.
We're starting to take the grant opportunity. The work of the grant is starting to come full circle and it's starting to end. Last week, a student named Madeline DuBois went to Roanoke, Virginia with a professor and they did a research report session. They actually led a session on the statistics and the analysis of this survey and how we created the survey. And that's one of the last parts of the grant. Publishing those results in the AOR journal that is out is also our last kind of hoop to jump on the grant. The grant allowed us to purchase some electronic equipment. We wanted to pay for some hourly student worker time, but the grant agency that provided us the grant gave us really narrow use of the money. They told us what we could do and what we couldn't do with the money. So in some ways that $5,000 was kind of a pain. But we got a really nice computer and some audio equipment that helped us with the video, and by chance that computer is the computer that Joel's using right now. So it helps us with some of the work that we have in campus rec that's going on. It also provided travel for the student and professor to get to Virginia to do this presentation and things like that. Sometimes grants are good because they give you the funding, but sometimes they're also a little bit of a distraction because you have to follow through on what the stipulations of the grant are, and it can take you away from kind of your main goal if it gets offline. We have last slide. Joe has some stuff on how you can help.
Yeah, so if you are interested in getting involved, talk to myself, Sam, Griffin, or Erica. I just put my email and Griffin's email out there, but you guys know how to contact all of us. I'm around all the time. Sam's on sabbatical until January, so then you see more of him. Erica and Griffin are in Senate. Let any of us know if you want to get involved, helping out, tabling, and then join the Maverick Adventures Facebook page. It'd be great to have everyone follow us. It's not just in regards to Maverick Adventures stuff on campus, it's also, outdoorsy stuff in Minnesota and the Midwest of where's the best place to go see the fall colors, which is passed, but there was a map on there once in a while, or the 7 best places to hike in Minnesota. So it gives students a chance to get outdoors and experience what we have in this area and this region of the United States. So that's our presentation. Any questions? Senator Overton.
Yeah, so I like the outdoors, so I think this is an awesome program that is trying to be implemented. I have a couple of concerns and questions. So what is the differentiation between per credit and per semester? Would it be like a per credit, you're paying a fee for that class, but that gets put straight into your e-services, compared to per semester would be a student fee, or how would that be going financially?
It's pretty much the same thing. I think Senate talks about a per credit basis. Later on when we go into budget deliberations, SAC will guide you through what per credit costs are for different areas on campus for student fees. It just is hard to wrap your brain around with what the final number is, right? Will you pay me 7 cents a semester, or will you pay me $4.50, 7 cents per credit, or will you pay me $4.50 per semester? Hopefully that's fairly close. It depends on enrollment. Dr. Jones has some numbers that sometimes help, but it changes each year depending on how many students are here.
My only real concern is promotions and demographics. So I understand that you did have some survey statistics on who would be willing to participate and who would not. But I'm interested in what you would do for minority populations that don't know that oftentimes minorities don't participate in things like this at all. So I'm kind of interested to see how you would appeal to those populations as well as international students that aren't aware of this or don't participate in things like this as well. Because if this is going to be implemented on our campus, I think it should be able to appeal to all populations equally and not just people who have already been established as people who enjoy these things.
How did we do in the video? Did you see in the video?
And I saw a couple people shaking their heads like, I would know.
But in the video, did you see diversity?
No.
You didn't? Okay. We purposely try to involve students of all backgrounds. So we had non-traditional students, we had students of color, we had all different students doing different things. That's a big challenge in the outdoor industry right now. If you look at the media, REI gets blasted a lot. Some of the other big North Face companies, Patagonia, for only showing Caucasian outdoor programming. So it's something you have to be intentional about. It's making sure that the picture for the trip isn't just a photo of bearded men wearing fleeces going on trips. We have to make sure that we show that diversity is intentional in programming. And when it comes to international students, last year's Senate President, Faisal, is very passionate about biking needs for international students and the need for semester-long rentals of bikes. So we've been talking a lot on that topic. Also, imagine being able to take a bunch of international students out ice fishing. Some of them maybe have never walked on ice. Some of them, have never seen snow, depending on where they are from where in the world. So I think programmatically, it's just like running Campus Rec, where we really try to appeal to all students. We want to make sure that we're involving anyone, offering different sports, offering different pursuits. But I answered your question, but I also need your help in making sure that we're accountable on really focusing on diversity and how we can get all Mavericks outside.
Senator Fiji?
Just a comment back to the international students. International, from all the things that they lack, they're pretty good at doing, like sending emails to us about telling us about new things that we can get involved in and like new volunteering projects or whatever. So for international students, if you read the emails, they send a lot of things that you can be involved in campus. So I feel like they do a good job with informing us about that, or slightly a good job with that. So.
John, did you still have something? No? Did I just read this up here? Senator Hoja?
Objection, no offense to the International Center, please.
What?
No offense to the International Center.
What did I say? I said they do a good job.
All right. Anyways.
They do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Well, just a question. Do you have a number of how many students are involved currently in the program?
The program doesn't necessarily exist. Right now, Joe is a graduate assistant, helping the process of bringing the program to our campus. Todd and I have worked for years. This is my 7th year in Campus Rec, and we have worked on expanding our offerings for snowshoes. We invested in some new tents. The canoes that we have are quite old, but right now we're at a capacity for the amount of service that we can offer. My job is to run the ropes course and the rock wall. So running outdoor trips and things, I don't have, that's not part of my job description. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the funding, the equipment, the space, so that we can expand and offer this and do it right. So that's the conversation that's been going on. We have been tasked with doing some pilot programs. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, Joe came in and reported back that our first pilot program had about 45 people coming to learn how to cook over an open fire or a camping stove. It happened to be about 25 degrees out, pretty chilly, but we had 40 people out in front of the performing arts area learning how to bake a cake over the fire or make a foil packet dinner. So the pilot programs, we hope, show that interest, but giving programming to get people to use equipment and know how to cross-country ski or snowshoe or read a map, those things help with the rentals, which help with the trip and travel. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Do you offer or partner with institutions that provide certifications? And for example, a number of years ago, I took like a day class and got a certification in snowmobiling. So like those sorts of things, it's on the back of my driver's license now. Is that something that you plan on offering, not necessarily for snowmobiling, but like scuba diving?
In the future, that's the certification side of it. We used to offer a class in scuba diving on campus, but that has kind of moved away in the last 4 years, probably. A big part of this outdoor adventure travel is the risk management and being able to manage risk appropriately so that people don't get hurt. So as we move forward, those certifications and the partnerships are things that we really have to work with risk management to make sure that if we're offering a certification with a company coming in to certify you in some endeavor, we want to make sure that everything's cool with the university as well as through the program. I do see those kind of workshops going on where maybe it's a rock climbing certification, a wilderness first aid certification that could help you get a job at a camp, or to work with youth or lifeguarding, advanced lifeguarding classes, scuba, the list goes on and on and on. There's paddling certifications, there's bike maintenance certifications, the list is huge.
So that's something you're planning on expanding in the future as the program develops?
Right now, just through an academic department, we've offered some wilderness first aid and wilderness first responder type certifications, and that's in the last 13 years that I've been here. But primarily it was just offered through one department to the students of that department. It wasn't a whole campus-wide certification.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Sam and Joe, for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody here for open forum?
I'm not quite here for open forum, but I thought I was going to be on the agenda.
Okay. Probably just a mess of an email. Yes.
Awesome.
Cindy, I need you to log in quick.
Okay, then Dave should
It's just
go
your password.
while I'm logging in.
It's just your password right here quick.
All right, I've been given that. Mr. Speaker, I want to just circulate this from the Environmental Committee, which meets on this Friday. This is a synopsis. We just signed a new waste management contract with LJP. And this little sheet purports to show where all our recycling, composting goes. We try to minimize as much to the county landfill as possible. We believe, and our statistics would show, that about 2% of all that we have in our waste stream ends up in the landfill, which is pretty good, 98% being recycled in some fashion. So the members of the Environmental Committee, if you don't know, Monica Warner, Mallory Briggs, I'm not sure if they're here. Eric Olson is the co-chair. I'm just reading off the students' names. Jenny Thompson, Kathleen Murphy, Sarah Haste, and Shali Kalman, K-A-L-M-O-N. Sorry about the mispronunciation. But Mr. Speaker, this is a pretty good shortcut about what's happening here at MSU. The biggest piece, Mr. Speaker, is over on the right, and that's called composting, and it's called food composting, and it's part of the Dining Services Center's big improvement in taking care of the food that I throw away every day. And that's all I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. By the way, Mr. Speaker, there are 2 electric charging stations right outside your door, and we'll be kicking those off, well, electrifying them, turning the switch any day now. None of you have electric cars, and I wish you all good wages in the future so you can buy these very expensive cars.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I'll just ask. Hello Cindy. I'm from Residential Life. Sam is going to play the role of my page turner. Thank you, Sam. Back to talk about room and board rates again and the projected plans for next year. This presentation was given to RHA on Monday, and then I'll share with you proposed rates. So we're going to talk about the budget assumptions that we're making for 2018 and 19, a base rate for room and board, improvement options that RHA has brought up that I and my staff are working on pricing, and then the next steps. Okay, this pie chart shows you a revenue plan for 2018-19. And the purple area is room. That's 69% of our revenue is what students pay for their rooms. The gold part is board. Board means food or meal plans. So that's 28%. So with those two together, you can see it's really the majority. There's a little bit there for rent revenue, so health services, learning community office, new student and family programs. And then there's other revenue. There's a small amount for that, with no comma apparently, just over $500,000. That is our summer camps, and also when students are paying restitution. And then interest income with interest rates pretty low, that's not a great deal. This budget's over $25 million, so $25.7 million. You could have done that math all by yourself, knowing how many people live in the residence halls and what our rates are, because that's online. You could do that math for any program in the country if you know how many people live in their buildings or how many spaces they offer and what they're charging. I've done it for my mother's retirement community. Okay, next slide. Okay, expenses, thanks. All right, so this is our projection for our expenses for next year. About a quarter of it is in employee services. Now, most of the programs that come and talk to you, when we talk in student affairs, some of my fellow student affairs directors have 96% of their expenses in employee services. In residential life, it's 23%, so that counts the staff that do office kinds of things. That's cleaning and maintenance. That's hall directors, area directors, student staff. We're one of the largest student employers on campus. Dining is about a quarter of our expense for next year. So that's the same as the board plan, but that's the amount that we're paying to Sodexo plus a little bit more. Utilities, about $1 million. So that's electric, gas, it's our lighting, steam, heat, water. Supplies and equipment, quite a bit of that is toilet paper, 2-ply now provided to all private bathrooms, but also programming supplies. Other operating expenses is that kind of pinkish number in the lower left. The majority of that is where we categorize our lease payment to the owner of the Stadium Heights apartment complex. Other things that are in other operating expenses are our internet contract with Charter, our cable contract with Charter, pest control, things like that. And then you see this great big chunk that is called facilities for $10 million. I'm going to ask Sam to help me in a second to go back and forth because I want to show you two things here. This number at the bottom for expenses, it's over $27 million. And if you were listening a minute ago, back up, you said I told you that our revenue was just over over $25 million. There are some years where we spend more than we take in, some years when we spend less. How can we do that? Well, just like you do at home if you have a savings account and you've been saving for something. So I'll show you what we have in a plan, why we would be spending more this year, okay? I also want to show you, do you see, go back to the revenue, see the dining number, board is $7 million. Now go back to the expenses, and the expenses are less than that, that's almost 6.4. So why would we charge students more for dining than we pay to Sodexo? The reason why is to cover the expenses that we have to run that program. So that includes utilities, it includes cleaning, staff for cleaning, and staff for repairs. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Budget assumptions for next year, 2018 and 19. The Minnesota State Office gives us some guidelines and asks us to plan for repair and replacement for our facilities, because we're the state of Minnesota and we don't plan to ever sell these things, so it's important to take care of them. So there's a formula that we look at every year, and right now that formula says that we should be spending about $2.8 million on reinvestment in our facilities each year, and it's a guideline to spend. We plan to spend more than that on facility renewal in the coming year. Okay? Next. So what's that look like? We have it in a repair and replacement budget of $1.1 million. So that's things that need to happen every year. Some amount of carpet gets replaced every year. Some amount of furniture gets replaced every year. There are filters that go into the air conditioning units and the air handling units that are the big ones, and also the ones that are inside units in Julius, Sears, and Presca. Debt service is the big chunk of this. This is like a mortgage on a house. So when I have a mortgage payment for my house, we have debt service to pay off the residence halls. So this is 20-year debt. Presca was 2011 money, so we have more than a quarter paid off that building. And then renovations. That's the big chunk that's kind of the savings account piece. So that's $2.2 million. Okay, what are projected expense increases? We get these numbers from Finance Administration, so we're not just making up what we think, we're consulting with the university's experts. So salaries are projected to go up 4%, health insurance 2.86%, student wages 9%, there's a university committee that works on that, and then workers' comp 3 to 5%. Okay? Dining is projected to increase 2.5%, utilities 9%, supplies and equipment flat, other operating expenses 3%. Next. Okay, what are we planning on doing in facility renewal? The big one is McElroy E&F, moving that from basic to renovated, so we have a whole lot of air conditioners to buy and a whole lot of new radiators. The radiators and air conditioners provide temperature control for students, so that's really about comfort. Our surveys since forever have said students want that. The way these buildings were designed, there's the thermostat at one end of the building, and then there's 200 feet of building where the heat is controlled by that one thermostat, so it's not very effective. If you've ever been challenged to control your temperature in one of our older buildings, that's what you've experienced. So that's why we have to replace the radiators. Crawford D Hall, we started a window installation project last summer, and we have those windows here on site, but we ran out of the contractor had some problems and ran out of time to complete it, so we'll get that done this coming summer. Presca, we're going to do main floor public bathroom floors, and we'll actually start that before the end of the semester. Okay? So what are the proposed room and board rates? There are going to be some handouts coming both directions. Take one, and then I'd like to pick up the extra so I can share those with other folks. These are folded like this for a reason, because there's no information in the part that's hidden by the fold, so it's just to make it easier for you to look at. We're saving money on toner, whereas Dave is just throwing it away on every handout he makes. We're conservative with our use of student dollars here. Just trying trying to beat off the peanut gallery over here. Okay, how to read this. I'm going to walk you through the columns on top. Now again, this is folded for, because the stuff that's behind the fold, there's no information there. So I'm going to go through the folded way. So you've got across the top of the page, A, B, C, G, H, I, and J. Okay? The first third of the page is basic room rates as you're coming down the left-hand side. The next third is renovated room rates. The bottom third is semi-suites and apartments, okay? So that's how we're dividing up the length of the page. Going across the top, if you take a basic room rate and you've got a double room there, underneath that you see 4 meal plans, okay? Column A shows the current room rate for that basic double with a Maverick Anytime plan. Column B says, let's take out the current things that students have voted on that were options, that are annual options to vote on, just $4 worth of stuff. And column C says, okay, what does that base rate become? Now my budget officer is awesome, and she loves spreadsheets, and she cannot get enough columns and rows. So she just kept these other columns that will be for later in the process. And she assumed that students would vote on G for those options. I don't know what will happen, but this is what we're working with. I didn't catch it when she gave me this, so that's my fault. Column H says, okay, with this base rate, and assuming that students vote on those $4 of items that come up every year, historically that's what happened. I don't know what will happen this year. That shows a % change, and it shows a dollar amount of change. So for this basic double room with the Maverick Anytime meal plan, that would be 2.94%, and the dollar change would be $246. When you average out this whole column of percents that take every combination of a room and a meal plan, it's 2.81%. Now, if all of the senators who've been here for the last 20 years since I've been here were in the room, they would all be saying, what, you never gave us a rate increase this low. So a standing ovation would be appropriate, but if you're not willing to do that, I'm just going to call it out. I'm enthused to bring you a rate increase that is this low. Thank you. Thank you. And it's really just based on what's projected to happen with our expenses. Okay? Let me pause and so if you have lived on campus either now or in the past and had a particular meal plan, you can go down the side of this chart, find your room, find your meal plan, see what it would cost right now if you're not currently living on campus, and then see what that is proposed to increase. We have several metrics that we use in trying to keep the comparisons appropriate so they are logical to a consumer. You know, a single room should cost more than a double, that kind of thing. Trying to keep ratios lined up in a reasonable way. Okay, I'm ready for the, improvement options. Okay, next. Okay, this $3 RHA promotional item, I don't care how much RHA wants to have for a promotional item. It's been $3 for a while. If they want a different number, they'll tell me, but so I just put in the same numbers as they had last year. And then the next one is $1 for desk checkout supplies. Those are items that have historically been voted on every year that students want to continue those, so that's the $4. Okay, next. Students asked for a toaster in each floor kitchen. The university's risk manager is a fun killer. He's a nice guy, but he rains on our parades. And he said, industrial commercial grade toaster only in Julia Sears or Prescott JK&L, because he's doing fire code stuff. So there's, so that's what happens if the university buys a toaster. If students on the floor decide that they want to buy a $15 toaster at a local retailer and put it in the floor kitchen, they can do that. So I shared that with RHA. Okay? RHA asked about guest passes for the dining center because some campuses have those, and dining has said that that would be $10 a guest pass. So at 2 guest passes a semester, it ends up being $40 per student per year. And then there was another proposal they had about just buying them additionally individually, and I've got to look into that. Okay? TVs and floor lounges. Seems like it would be simple, you just go out and buy a TV. However, if you're the university, you have to do it right. So you have to buy, I think these are estimated at about $600 a TV. And so you have to have the TVs, you have to have a decent bracket, you have to pull the wires to get up to the lounges, you have to install the jacks and pay union labor to do all of that. So it ends up being $2,000 per lounge, and then you have to pay for service. So it comes out to $47 per student in the first year, and then in the future years, you have to assume you're going to have to replace some number of TVs and keep paying the annual cable service. One of the RHA members said something about, well, what would it be just for HDMI cable? And so my person who is the TV expert is going to look into that and give me a price so that people could watch TV by bringing their own TV into the lounge. We also have to look at to find out if there's any copyright problems because we get into movies and that's its own challenge. But we'll look at it. Okay? Free printing. Well, this is funny. What's the price of free printing? Because nothing's free. So the question, I think, what I was hearing was that students were asking about more MavPrint for Res Hall students. Now I know that MavPrint is an effort that you, as MSSA, have made arrangements for all students across campus. However, if students in the Res Halls decided they want more, we can find out from IT, you know, just sort of do a pass-through thing that Res Hall students say they wanted another $10 worth of printing that they're paying for in their rate. They pay it, and IT gives them access to that. I've also informed RHA reps that students can add money to their MavCash for use with MavPrint if they wish. So we'll see what happens with that. Ice machines everywhere. We currently have an ice machine in our, kind of off our lobby areas near mailboxes. And the proposal was to have, it was really the fourth floor people who don't, you know, it's a longer walk for them to go all the way down to get ice. So they said, what about adding ice machines to each floor kitchen? It'll be crazy, crazy expensive. But we'll price it, and we're just trying to figure out, is there some cheaper way that we can do this? Because when we do things, we have to do it with, you know, it can't just be it has to be able to withstand the use and last. So that one's complicated and expensive. And there's going to be an opportunity for floor feedback and voting. So next Monday is sample ballots, and then nothing happens Thanksgiving week, and then the last week of class is the voting, and then coming back here to share with you the outcome of that. And I think there might be a couple more slides. Okay, so some of the things, this happens each year when we do this consultation, is that students bring up things like, gee, the hooks in the showers aren't all there. And that's really a maintenance item. That's not something that people need to be charged more to fix it back to the way it ought to be. We will take a look, and if the dressing area hook is not there, if it's not adequate, RHA will tell me if it's not done by that Monday after Thanksgiving, because that's the timeline I've asked our maintenance staff to accomplish it on. And then all of our buildings now have, if you're familiar with the basic residence hall room, it's a rectangle with a window at the end and a bed on either side if it's a double. And so what we've done in every place except for Julius Sears is we've done this shelf above the window that's accessible from the loft, and we haven't done it in Julius Sears, so that a representative from Julius Sears asked about this. I can't imagine asking all residents to pay for that, since in the other ones it was all done in project or R&R budget. So that's how we would accomplish this. I don't know if we can afford to do it for next summer, but we'll look at it. And what questions do you have for me?
Any other questions? Senator Ogunslani?
I have more of a comment in regards to dining. That's just a comment. So when you're out of plates, when they use substitute plates, like because there's no plates available?
It's not because there's no plates available, but that's...
Well, because of machine.
Yeah, dish machines down.
The scenario is Is there any way to switch that from styrofoam to something that's more eco-friendly? Because styrofoam doesn't decompose, and that's a lot of styrofoam to go through for all those residents.
Thank you for the feedback. And Dave Cowan, would you write that down for me so I remember it? Thank you. I'll look into it. Thank you. What else? What else? That's good. We've had some dish machine challenges, so thank you for bringing that up.
A lot of styrofoam.
I gotcha. Yes.
All right.
Okay, so to complete your origami crane. That's a joke.
Thank you very much for coming and presenting, Cindy.
Thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Nobody else for open forum? All right, seeing nobody else for open forum, we're going to move into the approval of the consent agenda.
Okay.
I dissent. I would like to move to amend to add 4 senators that were missed. Senators Dominguez, Hoja, Whitty, and Christensen.
All right, there's a motion to add 4 senators to the Senate report. Seconded. Discussion? Anything further into discussion?
It was on the email that we were presenting, these senators were presenting, just were not.
All right. Is there any dissent to approving this change? This is the amendment. Any dissent to the amendment? All right. So amended. All right. Is there any dissent to approving the consent agenda?
Yes, I sent just a request to add the CSET vacancy.
Is that an amendment?
Yes.
All right. There's an amendment proposed to add under vacancy, Science and Engineering Technology Senator. Is there a second for that? All right. Any dissent to adding that? All right. Make sure that you mark those 2 changes. So what we're about to approve will have the 2 changes of adding Senator Dominguez, Hoja, Whitty, and Senator Christensen to Senator reports. And also we'll have under vacancies, it will be the first announcements of the Science, Engineering, and Technology Senator seats. Any dissent to approving the consent agenda? So moved. All right. Down into officer reports. President Abdulaziz.
Thank you. Well, first, I'm going to let my RSO of the week present during recording speak. We have Selena from APSO. So please give her a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Serena Talving-Shaw, and I'm the Vice President of APSO. So APSO stands for Asian Pacific Student Organization, and what we do on campus is we are open to all students, and we try to create a safe space for everyone while empowering them. And one of our goals is to educate them about the social issues that go on in the Asian communities, also while helping them network within the Asian communities as well as outside of communities and within and off of campus. And one of our upcoming events is going to be Open Mic Night, which is on November 20th from 6 to 11, and it's just going to be down in the bullpen. And that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions. All right, it was great meeting you guys.
Okay, and then following the rest of my report, I will not be in attendance for the next Senate meeting. I'm just super bummed about that. But I may come in maybe during the game. I will be attending a meeting on campus at SMFC, so I'm not sure what it's about. So that's a little bit of sad news. But hey, we're still going to work kickball. That's what we do all. Secondly, so we have delegates. Our delegates pre-meet, I've sent an email out for that for Friday at noon for the people who are attending delegates. So mark that on your calendars. If you can't go, please email me. And then, of course, you have a Meet the Reps event tonight. I was informed that President Davenport will be there, and I think it would be amazing for senators to kind of show up to an event like this. We've heavily promoted it, so we're expecting students to be there. Dinner is provided. Please come talk to your constituents, because I know there will be students there, but also kind of just comes to say, coming out to support events, and our name is on this, so I think we should get a good group of senators there to come and do it. So, today, 7 p.m., CSU North Ballroom. If you want office hours, talk to Nolan. And then here's a copy. After we pass last week's motion, I'll send this around. Here's a copy of the write-up by Senator Vega, kind of just conveying what we voted on last week, and it's been kind of sent to the appropriate personnel for it. And hopefully they take our suggestion into consideration. And with that, I yield.
Move to a 5-minute recess.
All right, there's a motion for a 5-minute recess. A second. That's for a second.
Second.
All right, we got a second. Is there any dissent? No. All right, take 5. Be back at 5:17.
Guarantee it. I've seen her.
The meeting ends at 6 at night. Well, I mean, not it sucks to say. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Just take your picture.
Wait, what did you say? I say you're not camera ready. You literally always support this stuff.
Over here.
Every time I see you, it's just like big.
We need your picture. Otherwise, students don't know who to speak up.
I had these.
Abdul, did you talk about the rest?
Alright, so this was updated. I'm kind of worried about it. So we got his already. Elena's not here. Hers is not on here as of October 18th.
All right, sounds good.
Amber's not here. These are 3 we don't have pictures. Lenny supposedly what we put on, what I put on. Lenny gave me some I guess we're losing miles. And I'm in Keaton, can I take your picture?
Yeah.
Lori? Or you can send it to Amber or myself.
Let's do that. Lori slept since yesterday. And
1 more minute.
This is for your website. Oh, could I?
Yeah, right now. Why not? Oh yeah, I saw that.
you look great. I'm like, you need to make it
All right, take your seats.
I got some pictures on the right. He already has his picture. Yeah.
No, leave them. Who are you?
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I tried
All right. Are there any questions for President Abdulaziz at the end of his officer report? Seeing none, we'll move into Vice President Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just have a few things here. First off, the 47th Diversity Center for the Native American Student Association is, oh man, hang on. Let me find the date. December 1st. Yeah, December 1st. Thanks for that. And then it'll be $12 per student, or if we want to get a group of 8, it'll be $80 for all of us. So it'll be $10 per person, which I think would be really cool and just support other organizations on campus. The next one, Break the Town, is this Saturday, November 11th. Super cool community service opportunity. If you guys have any questions or want to get involved with that, let me know. Looking for delegates. I'm really excited. It'll be my first one. And then the student events team is having elections soon. And we are a great group of people with some great leadership experiences. So I think if you guys are looking for another opportunity next year, I think you should try out student events team, and then we need you guys to apply by November 14th. Some of the positions count for internships through business or mass media, stuff like that. If you have any questions about that, talk to me or Bill Torville, who's down in student activities. And then we are still looking for appointments for a couple of committees. Let's see if I can. It's for planning summit and then budget evaluation summit. So if you are interested in any of those, reach out to me. We really, really, really need appointments to that. With that, I am.
Are there any questions? All right. No questions. I'll go into my officer report. And first, I want to thank the Dean of the Day, Dean Bevacqua, for being here. Thank you again for coming down and showing your support and spending the day or the afternoon with us.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, also technology at the table, so make sure we are keeping technology at the table limited. Please only be using it if it is pertinent to what you're doing as a senator, especially for cell phones. Remember the popcorn rule. I think that's a pretty good rule because we're all adults, so take it out quick, use your cell phone, put it back if you need to respond to something that's pertinent right away. Otherwise, please don't be scrolling through Instagram or be like scrolling through social media or content that you'll be reading for a long time that will distract you from your senator duties in the meeting. Last thing that I have with that is, if you look at all the senator reports, you did this to us. All right. So, but to remedy this next semester, I'm going to make sure that we do sign-ups a little bit earlier. And so I'm going to try to right away at the beginning of the semester have us sign up. So what I want you doing is over winter break, please be thinking about things for senator reports for next semester, because if we space them out, we could have two, maybe three a meeting, and we wouldn't have to have a meeting where we're going to have, now in this one, I think it's like 14 or 16 of them. And so it's just a lot, and it's hard to take in that information. With that, I yield, if there's any questions. Oh, President Abdul has a good point. I won't be here next week, and neither will President Abdulaziz. So, Vice President Kramer is going to be running the show. Also, come ready for kickball. Okay. I yield. Let's move into Senator reports. First one is Senator Collis.
Yeah, I met with some of the execs from the Integrated Business Experience in College Business. Two of the companies are donating their profits to the Backpack Food Program in Mankato, and the third one is donating their profits to LEAP. Their selling period is ending on December 1st, so let your constituents know they do want to sell out by then because they don't want to be holding just the rest of their inventory. You might have seen them in the CSU. I think they've all broken even by now. So all of your donations will just go directly to charity. So they table in the CSU, and they have they also have websites. So if you do have a chance, go support them. It's really a great cause. That's all you.
Are there any questions for Senator Collis? All right, thank you, Senator Collis. Next, we have Senator Tao.
Okay, so I'm going to update the diversity committee. So I'm a little concerned that they had like the praying space and in the CSU second floor. They were thinking they want to have their buyers more exclusive for females and males praying. And yeah, give them suggestions. I'm open for suggestions. He did give us some ideas, but maybe some concerns about that.
Senator Steve.
CSU board is working on that.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Senator Tao. Senator Schmidt.
Yeah, so as Res-Life Senators, we have been going to myself and Mimi and Andrew have been going to the RHA General Assembly meetings to give them updates on what we talk about every single week. And a few weeks ago, we asked for some feedback on some current concerns that they have on campus. So I'd like to yield to Senator Cronin, who has a short list of some of those.
Yeah, so a lot of the things that the representatives had issues with were things that we cannot control, like getting air conditioning and heating in the unrenovated rooms. But as we all just heard from Cindy Gianni, that they're working on renovating E&F Hall. But other things, concerns that as Res-Life Senators we are interested in taking on, our people are looking for hand sanitizer dispensers in the residence community, similarly how they have them in the dining centers in the CSU. Gender neutral housing, which is something Senator Whitty will be talking about later today. What else? Bookstore prices. I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't really related to the res halls, but those two main ones. Oh, and then as well, someone commented that they hadn't heard anything that MSSA does to promote disability services, and so we're planning on connecting with Alex Lucier, who was here last week talking about how he was appointed to the, I can't remember what the committee's exactly called, but he'll be a representative for this disability services. And then we just look to work to have more visibility with our residents and the communities.
Are there any questions for Senator Cronin or Senator Smith? All right, thank you. Senator Vega.
Okay, I will try to make it really short because I actually have like a few stuff to report. So basically I'm going to report about my meetings regarding with the neighborhood associations, both Lincoln Park and neighborhood, the Highland Park Neighborhood Association. So far there has only been one meeting for the Lincoln Neighborhood Association Park. What was discussed in this meeting was just current work that they are doing in the neighborhood, like they are doing several events. Last month they did an event about where they met the candidates running next election for the Minnesota elections. I don't remember specifically which one. They discussed something to do with pedestrian safety downtown. Apparently there's been some reported accidents concerning pedestrian safety downtown. If there is somebody who would like to work on that, let me know. We could like contact Neighborhood Association to see what we could do. There's also something maybe you guys may be interested in, like there's going to be a new park, and the Lincoln Neighborhood Association is mainly behind that, and this new park is going to be located in, this new park is in the Saltzman Park. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the area. It's downtown. I even don't know where it is at, new to the town. But there's going to be a new park there, and that neighborhood association is working on the project that's going to develop the planning for this new park. So yeah, that's basically what they discussed at that meeting. Nothing too much. Well, not too much. The next meeting for a Lincoln Neighborhood Association is going to be next week on Monday, and they usually meet on the Lutheran Church downtown. If any senator is interested in going, on representing MSSA, that would be great, that would be going. So let me know about that. And the other neighborhood association that I have attended to is the Highland Park Neighborhood Association. The first meeting we discussed some issue concern raised by Senator Thao about pedestrian safety between Monks Avenue and Highland Park area, where there was a lack of signs for pedestrian safety, like crosswalks and this kind of stuff. So I end up contacting members of the Mankato Police Department just to get a report on how many accidents and how many report incidents have there been, and there has only been one so far in the year. So yeah, they weren't pretty happy about helping us, well, helping out us on putting some signs on something related to the crosswalks and pedestrian safety. But there is something that issue is still being raised by some of the students. So there is some potential action that the students could take in order to like signing a petition or something directed to the Mankato City Planning, where we will like tell them as part of the community here in this area that this is something necessary. This is a necessity for like pedestrian safety. This is something we could do. It's just an idea. And the second meeting that they discussed in the Highland Neighborhood Association in the month of October was concerning about mostly Mark Frost, councilman, came to lobby for, not lobby, came to like propose the Highland Neighborhood Association to send the letter for the Tobacco 21 policy, which we discussed about this last week. That was the main issue raised that day in the Neighborhood Association, and they ended up like sending the letter support, which MSA did too. And I got the response back from the Neighborhood Association of Highland Park, and they were really thankful for our support, and they wanted to let us know that they're looking forward working together on more issues. Yeah, that's something great we did, guys. Great job. Thank you for that. Wait, give me a second. Oh yeah. So apparently we also had there was also attending the organization of Highland Park meeting. There members of the public safety in Mankato. So they were able to discuss how many members of our current peace officer force have imparted their education by earning master's degrees at MSU. So a lot of MSU graduate students go and work in these institutions like the Mankato Police Department or the Mankato Public Safety. So, which is something that has connected MSU with these institutions. And there was some issues concerned from part of the community of the neighborhood association that concerning about safety, right? Apparently there's only one officer on MSU campus that they're raised to concern that they would like to see more from part of the community. That's something they mentioned. They also mentioned how MSU could possibly develop their law enforcement program more in order to be more active in the community. That's something that another proposed idea from the neighborhood association that we could work on with academic affairs, of course. And yes, with that, I yield my time.
Hey, Senator Vega, are there any questions? Senator Johnson.
All right, so I'm just going to
I'll try to make this as briefly as I could. Monday, I met with the Dean of Arts and Humanities, Matt Cecil, and yesterday I met with the Assistant Director of the Career Development Center, but he's also functioning as the liaison to the College of Arts and Humanities about towards the end of March, start of April, setting up a career day with both employers and career panels for students within the College of Arts and Humanities. So we do currently have a career fair where we just have employers coming, but I'm actually intending on modeling this after the one for the College of Social Behavioral Sciences, where there's different panels, and students are able to speak with professors, employers, and people employed within those fields to figure out what life is actually like in those professions. And I'm just looking at bringing this over to the College of Arts and Humanities.
Are there any questions for Senator Johnson? Thank you for your report. Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am the co-chair for Maverick Adventures alongside Griffin Good, and in our last meeting we talked about our Wellness S'mores pilot program. I wasn't able to be in attendance because of work, but we talked about how the feedback for it was really good. A lot of people enjoyed it. Like I said, we had people, and we want to keep that up, keep the student involvement up, keep the students leading and teaching those pilot programs as well. We have a goal to get 2 to 3 more pilot programs as the semester opens back up next year or whatever. We have an idea for SNOGA, which is snowshoeing and yoga. So if that sounds like up your alley, be on the lookout for that. We have Carly Hopper. She had a session to help out with that. She's a yoga instructor over gym over there. Let's see. I also just figured out that the snowshoe rental, you can get your first pair free for 1 day or for 1 weekend, and then all the additional pairs are like $7 for a day, $15 for a weekend, and $35 for a week. I didn't know that, and so now you guys know that. So if snowshoes are something you want to do, that's awesome. That's it. That I yield.
Any questions for Senator Thompson? Thank you for your report. Senator Ogun Salami.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, so I unfortunately have not been able to attend RJ meetings. I have class at that time, but I've been working with I'm a CA, so I'm working with my community council, my RJ representative, to keep me updated on what happens at the meetings. Along with that, we've discussed some of those concerns that I have within what I've heard from my residents and my constituents, and that has been brought up in our Student Affairs Committee, which has then in turn been brought up in RJ because Ray as well as Reese, both are attentive in that, and so they have been bringing some of those issues we talked about last meeting, actually. So I have been working with fellow CAs in other buildings like Prescott, or not Prescott, like I'm in Prescott, with people in Crawford and McElroy. Haven't really had any connections to Julia Sears because I haven't reached out necessarily, but to kind of hear what residents have to say, because I understand that RHA is a great avenue for them to vocalize their concerns, but the reality is that college students won't go to RHA. I mean, some of them. There are some people that are dedicated to going, but some people that don't care enough to go but still have vocalized concerns. So I've been kind of trying to figure out what avenues in which I can reach out to them and understand what their issues are as well within that. I have been working very slightly with Sydney. The process is kind of just getting starting in regards to some issues that I have had brought up to me, since I haven't been able to bring them up to RJ because I haven't been able to go. But along with that, the current 2 things that I'm working on are just the minimal things that residents want to see different in the dorms, like for example, Prescott I, which is the non-renovated one, things don't stick on the walls. So how can we accommodate students' needs within that? In some of the rooms, the windows are ripped so bugs get in, and I just and our bathroom's been covered in bugs before, which to me isn't right. So things of that nature. My other issue that I've been working on also is safety on campus. We have a lot of issues in the dorms with sexual assault. And it's often thought that because we have an ID scanner that things are safe, but I've let people in before. I've been at the door. If the door's open, you slide in. It's a possibility for things to happen. So one of the things I'm working on is how can we make the dorms more safe for our residents so they don't have to worry about getting assaulted in their own homes. That's all. I yield.
Are there any questions? Thank you for your report. Senator Sarr.
Well, I'm going to keep mine really short. Well, sometime Monday, I went on campus I was at the CSU and I asked the first 50 people that I saw, apparently they all happen to be off campus, they stay off campus. And I did a survey to ask them if they did know of MSSA, and about 22 of them did not know what MSSA was or what they did and what they can achieve by knowing, or apparently they don't know what MSSA stands for and what we can do for them. So I basically had to explain to each of these 22 people, which was a long time, what MSSA was and where our office was located, and different senators that they can go up to if they had a problem or if they had any issue they could bring to us at that point. And I feel like also we should try and probably reach out more to the students and explain or let them know of MSSA, like what we do on Town Hall Tuesdays. If we can expand that, as in have them have a few announcements, like how Star Ginger and other places do, and the CSU speakers, we could probably have that, or probably have some of our stuff shown in the monitors. If you guys have any other point that you can also bring to me, or we can discuss as a group. And with that, I yield.
Are there any questions for Senator Sarr? Thank you for your report. Next we have Senator Turney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The one thing I've been working on is I'm part of the RHA Constitutional Revisions Committee. I've been helping, and so is Ray, and many others. We've been working to modernize the Constitution. For example, we're adding a diversity statement in that's not been included before. And we're just overall modernizing terms, changing committee names, stuff like that. And then another thing I've been working on is I'm working with my learning community coordinator and learning community staff to make the program more aware to orientation for freshmen next year. Because studies show that learning communities increase GPA. That is an academic kind of concern, but they partner with Resler, so that counts as a Resler concern. And overall, I'll be having them present or come in next in 2 weeks or something like that to give their information on the learning communities and what we can do to further increase participation and awareness. And for that, I yield.
Are there any questions for Senator Turney? Senator Christensen?
Mine's more of a comment.
Go ahead.
Fun fact, I was the learning community coordinator for Exploring Health Careers last year, so come to me with any sort of questions, concerns, anything that I can further help you with.
Anything else? Thank you for your report. Senator Quintan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So one of the things I've been working with within my College of Business, is I've been attending the COSBO meetings, and COSBO is pretty much an organization on campus that it has all the presidents of the different business organizations, so like finance club, accounting club, marketing club, so pretty much there's a lot of clubs within that organization. So pretty much we meet every month, once a month, and then we talk about stuff each organization is doing, and then the main purpose behind the organization is to promote the study of business. So we can bring different people from different companies to come talk about internship opportunities. So the students actually attend those meetings. So that's been something that accounting club and finance club has been really striving on lately. They've brought over, I believe, 20 employers, just this semester alone. So that's been really cool. And then there's also an event we're planning on having, because next week is called the Global Entrepreneurship Week. It's from November 13th through the 19th, and there's going to be an alumni panel. So pretty much anybody interested in meeting CEOs of different companies and stuff like that, actual finance companies and accounting companies, welcome to attend that.
Are there any questions for Senator Quintan? Thank you. Senator Pope?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Basically, for mine, it's just that I've been meeting with constituents over the last few weeks just to talk about different things that they might be struggling with finding housing and housing in general. And some of the things that I've come up with from what they've told me is that they're having problems with leases and they're not very transparent. So sometimes their landlords will just come to the house and do inspections without them ever knowing that they could do that. Other things are just that with Rent MSU, it seems like most of the housing is 5-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and so they're looking for more options where there are maybe 2 to 3 bathrooms instead of just one that people can have. And then also, they didn't really like the idea of 10-bedroom houses with 2 bathrooms, because it makes for very cramped spaces. And that's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Pope? Thank you for your report. Senator Ralph?
Thank you, Speaker. So I met with different RS student organization, and they invited me actually to talk about NSSA and what we do and how we can be helpful. So I spoke during a different RS organization. That was amazing experience. And also I met with International Office Director, Mrs. Daisy Fry, and we talked about how we can contribute our help to them to get the better results, and they're working on different things. They have goals like how they can get involved with the students and how they can be like more flexible and comfortable environment for every international student. Also, I had an opportunity to meet with ISA president, and he was really concerned about how he can be that organization can be a source to explore different culture of international students. And also, that was an amazing experience. So they're working on that. There are lots of things going on in ISA and also in different ISOs, and it's amazing. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Senator Rall? Thank you for your report. Senator Dominguez.
Last week I had the opportunity to meet with the Dean of Social Behavioral Sciences, Maria Babacqua. During this meeting, we discussed the changes that MSSA was planning on making on the grade appeal process and the changes made to the textbook reserve program, and how that would be beneficial to the students in our college. In addition, we talked about students in the college who have conflicts picking a major within the college and later picking a career path. I've spoken to many students who are in the college and they are really passionate about their major, but they're unsure of what happens after they graduate, kind of the career path they would like to take. So there is a career fair that is targeted toward people in the college in spring semester. So my plan is to reach out to students who have these concerns and make sure that they know that this is happening, and hopefully that would clear up, help them out with their path here in college.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Dominguez? Thank you for your report. Senator Oja.
I didn't put my name in the report, just for the next week.
Okay. You were one of the names that got amended on there. For next week?
I know we're putting me there, I wasn't here.
Okay. Make sure you send me an email that you want to go next week.
Yeah, I sent a letter for the last time when we were passing around.
Sign-up sheet.
The sign-up sheet.
Okay. It might have just been a mistake because there's a lot of people on there. I see you.
It's me and Emily.
All right. Senator Whitty.
Awesome. Like Senator Cronin mentioned, I met with Director Janey about the gender inclusive housing. I asked multiple organizations I'm involved with, and all of them asked about what happened with it, because the past 2 elections, it was on the platform and they didn't see anything happen. So I went and made this my personal project for this year. So like I said, I talked with Director Janey about like where it went and if anyone else has spoken to her. She told me that they've updated their software. So when you apply for res life housing, you have to fill out the application, and the application is more inclusive now. Where in the past it was just like your preference on like a smoking roommate, if like you don't want to live with them or like you're okay with it. Now there's the question that is having an LGBT roommate is in a like list that like it's important to me or it's not that important to me. That way that they can kind of try to fill better with that. They also have the option where you can choose which gender you identify with. It's not just in the system like when you apply for college in the way beginning. You can just click male, female. There's also a paragraph that says if you do not fit within this binary, please contact the Res Life office and we will be willing to assist you and help you in any way possible. I also asked her how we can move forward with making actual housing, not just like this availability, and we will see where that goes to, and I'll also be going to delegates next week and to Mucker this weekend for the Res Life conference to figure out what we can do and how we can institute that here. And
Are there any questions for Senator Whitty? All right, thank you for your report. In regards to senator reports, overall pretty good. I'm actually surprised at how fast we got through those. That was good that we kept them in a timely manner. But I think that it's also important, so what I want you to do is think about the different reports that you heard today, and think about the ones that were helpful to you and informative. Make sure that you're trying to model your senator report around those that were most supportive for you. So providing a lot of this is what I'm doing, and make sure you're drawing clear connections to how you're helping your constituents. Because sometimes it might be a clear connection for you, but it might be hard for other senators around the room who don't know your constituency very well. They might not know the different groups in there. So make sure that you're drawing those connections. Overall though, awesome. Thank you all for being very prepared. Next we're going to move into, just make the announcement for Science, Engineering, and Technology. We'll have an open vacancy, and the earliest that could be held would be the 29th of November. So we have the Senator for Science, Engineering, and Technology. Going into new business, we do have a motion. Motion 8511081701. And this is brought by Senator Meyer, seconded by Senator Christensen. Whereas there has been many students misusing the free guest pass when using the Auto Recreation Center in Myers Fieldhouse, additionally including everything Todd Finkstein presented earlier, be it resolved that Minnesota State University Mankato Office of Campus Recreation implement a $5 per day fee charge per guest pass when a guest of a student, faculty, or staff would be using the Auto Recreation Center in Myers Fieldhouse. The logistics of the fee will be determined by the campus recreation professional staff. To your motion, Senator Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to yield to Joel.
Oh, okay.
Everything that Todd mentioned earlier, I think there's a lot of good questions about how this is going to be implemented, and the concerns about $5 fee. I think a lot of concerns that students brought up, like right now, were if we pay, I think the guests should pay as well. Who I'm proxying for made a good point that when she's there, she doesn't want to be crowded with all these guests who aren't paying when she's a paying student herself. So I feel like this motion is more just getting the blessing of Senate for campus rec staff to move forward with the proposal. And I'll yield there since you guys heard the whole talk from Todd earlier.
Senator Christensen, do you have anything for your second?
No, I agree with everything that he said, so pretty straightforward.
All right. Senator Vega, is it a motion of privilege?
I just wanted to put a motion to table this motion.
All right, so you're moving to table, just to table to next week, or to table how?
Table to next week.
All right. Hold on. Real quick. It's looking for a second. Is there any seconds? There's no second to that.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's got a second by Senator Johnson. All in favor of tabling the motion, please signify. No, there's no amendments to it. Okay, what's your amendment? Go ahead.
I was going to push it away from next week into a week later, because next week we don't have time to meetings.
We don't have meetings 2 weeks from now.
True.
All right, so there's a motion to table this 3 weeks. Is that a friendly amendment?
Oh, yes, a friendly amendment.
Okay, so all in favor of tabling for the next 3 weeks, please signify by raising your flag or your hand. All opposed? All right, not tabled. Vice President Kramer.
Question to the gallery. John, does this need a motion? Or can we just
So I was going to recommend just changing the language to say that the MSSA supports the recommendation of the implementation of a fee, because when it comes to something like this, MSSA technically doesn't have the ability to wave a magic wand and say so be it. So you can support the recommendation or the action on the part of Campus Rec, and so that's if you're in favor of that in general, that's what I would suggest you change the wording to, and that should be a friendly, if you ask me. But that's just an opinion.
Senator Hogan-Salami.
Now now that the language has been changed, my mind kind of goes away, but also I think that a fee is a good idea.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. The language hasn't been changed.
Wait, what?
So, I just want to make sure everybody's clear. Language has not been changed. In order to change the language, you will have to pose an amendment and say exactly what you'd like changed. So, sorry, not to run any break.
No, it's good. So, with the way the language is established, I think this is a good idea because like we are paying fees, so they should as well. But also, he had mentioned that he'd been contemplating it for a long time, but within the facility that they haven't been contemplating it for a long time, which means it's a new idea. So I would firstly want to see some more structure to the thought. I want to see is there going to be a weekend rate? Is there going to be some more implications within the funding before I go ahead and say that this is a good idea? I think it is potentially a good idea, but I want to see more structure to it before we just go for it.
All right, I've got, what's going to happen is going to be Senator Cronin, Senator Higgs, Senator Collis, Senator Hickey. Senator Cronin?
I think this is something that should be moved to student affairs, just because when Todd was already here, there were several senators that were asking different ways to do this instead of just a straight $5 fee. Maybe there could be 2 or 3 free ones first, so I don't think going ahead and starting, or like saying yes to something that they don't already know if it's like what they're set on isn't a good idea.
Is that a motion to table to student affairs?
Yes.
All right, there's a motion to table to student affairs. Need a second? Senator Whitty? All right. Any dissent to motion or to tabling to student affairs?
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
If what John just said is true, then it's just a support. It's not like it has to go through the whole process of Senate. It's just the Senate supporting the implementation of it. It doesn't have to go through the process because it's not a motion of changing like a magic wand, John's words. So I don't see the need to do that.
I'm going to make some clarification just as a facilitator. Joe is correct. So this doesn't, campus rec can do whatever they want with or without us. And what Joe is referring to is that they might want our blessing, but we could do this and they could decide not to do anything with it, just so we're clear. But right now there is, just going back though into what we're doing, there's currently on the table, what's being asked for is to table this to student affairs. So, are there any other discussion for tabling?
I just wanted to respond to Joe. I just think it'd be a good idea to send it to student affairs so we can also discuss different possibilities, because it sounds like Todd doesn't know if they're confirming doing this or not. So I think student affairs committee would be able to discuss different outlooks on how we can handle non-students using the facility.
Is that good?
Move to amend the motion to read as MSSA supports the $5 campus rec fee.
Can't do that sorry, I should have been more clear. You can't move to amend the motion while we are currently voting whether or not, and discussing whether or not to table. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right now, the only thing that's on, the only business that's right now is we're deciding whether or not to table. And then you can make an amendment to amend the motion if you want.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of tabling the motion to student activities, please signify by raising your placard. Student affairs, sorry. Thank you for the clarification. I should have been clear. Student affairs. All opposed? Abstentions? All right, and that is the majority. So motion's tabled to student affairs. Anything else for new business? All right, we're moving to announcements. Senator Good.
So Maverick Adventures last meeting is going to be on Tuesday at 4 p.m. It's the last one this semester. Yeah, please let people in your colleges know about it, and if you'd also like to attend, feel free to come. We're going to be also discussing ways to have it voted upon, and also possibly having the ad hoc committee become an official committee, and the ways we want to do that. So this last meeting for the semester will really set the standards for next semester and possible years to come. So if you feel in your heart to come join, please do. With that, I yield.
Where's the meeting?
Yeah, good question. In the MSSA office in the conference room in there, so CSU 280 and whatever room number.
Senator Schmidt?
So CA applications for mid-year hire are out, and they are due on November 13th. And I really love being a CA, and I think a lot of you would love being a CA. So let me know if you're interested, and encourage you or your friends to apply.
Senator Warren?
Sorry, yes. So Recycle Mania Planning Committee is looking for a few more members, so if you're interested in helping out with that planning, let me know. Recycle Mania. Yeah. Are you?
Senator Dow?
Oh, yeah, thank you, Speaker. So ESG, the Honorary Health Society, will be selling Caramel apples in the CSU on November 28th, 10:30 to 2:30 p.m. CA tickets will probably be taken. This meeting looks like
Senator Ogenfine?
Karaoke! No. Tomorrow, in the bullpen. It's being hosted by Black Motivated Women. It's going to be super awesome, super fun. Just come out for some snacks, some juice. Non-alcoholic, of course. Just a good time, some karaoke. It's a competition, so if you want to come with a group and karaoke your butts off, you can do that. And it's going to be a $25 Insomnia Cookie gift card to whoever wins. So come and support us in our hard work and come have fun. You know, get your
John?
I have several things. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to those who came out for the U-League conference on the 24th. We saw about a 50% increase in attendance at the etiquette dinner, and the event's becoming bigger each year. We're in the process of debriefing with the co-chairs, putting together a playbook that'll make that doable or easily repeated from year to year. I've sent an update to President Abdulaziz regarding the Elections and Constitution Commission. If things go okay and get his seal of approval, we'll have one opening on each still. So that's where we are right now in terms of the way preferences landed with those who have been dual appointed. Next week, there will be were you gonna announce the chili thing? Okay, chili cook-off, a competition among several competitors in terms of a chili competition next week hosted by Sodexo. $2 samples, or $2 will get you a sample of the competing chilies. Mark competes against student activities, but we will win this year. So we can seal that deal on that one. But this will be the 16th from, I believe, 11 to 1 is about the time frame that takes place. So next Thursday, 11 to 1 at the Maverick area. Proceeds benefit the campus kitchen. Is benefits from that. Another thing to put on your calendar, Monday, December 4th, the annual Late Night Finals Week breakfast. So that would be a great opportunity to have Senate presence at. And then, obviously, as I already mentioned, get ready to get beat kickball next week. So we'll see you there.
Question?
What time is the breakfast thing?
10 to 11:30.
Okay, thank you.
PM, late night breakfast.
I figured, yeah, thank you.
Senator Chiaz and Mark?
So this Saturday, again, I'm gonna bring it up. We have Asian night, 8 different nations with 8 different cultures, cuisine, dancing, and performances will be there. $8 a ticket. If you still haven't bought the ticket, you can buy it. Your ex-president Faisal Riani, your current Senator Naeem will be hosting the night, so something to look forward to. So if you haven't bought the tickets are being sold at CSU, Mav, and the tables, yeah, and from Jasmine. So tickets are $8. Thanks.
Mark?
I was gonna talk about the late night breakfast too, John already did that, but we also, CSU also plans some things during that finals week. Just to remind you, we'll be having massages for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll usually be on the hallway down here, so you can come sign up for a 15-minute massage during your study breaks. We also will bring the pets in again on that Monday, the 4th. They'll be in here around the lunch hour for a couple hours, and then also before the late night breakfast, which everybody always enjoys those times. Lenny sort of coordinates that for us along the way. And then we also hope to have a harpist that'll be down in the Hearth Lounge, kind of soothing holiday music during that time too as well for people, probably on that Monday or Tuesday along the way. And I would encourage, as John did as well, for all of you to get some really good rest this weekend. Make sure you get some good sleep and things like that so you're ready to go on Wednesday for the kickball.
All right, seeing no other announcements, we're going to move into roll call. Senator Johnson. Senator Chow. Senator Good. Here. Senator Johnson. Senator Seeley. Senator Kintan. Here. Senator Collins. Here. Senator Warner. Here. Senator Heber. Senator Higgs. Here. Senator Bob. Present. Senator Paul. Senator Dominguez. Here. Senator Imtiaz. Here. Senator Asichi. Senator Christensen. Here. Senator Pope. Here. Senator Hoja. Senator Meyer. Here. Senator Hickey. Here. Senator Rawl. Here. Senator Saar. Here. Senator Vega. Here. Senator Cronin. Here. Senator Hogan Fleming. Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Trenning. Here. Senator Whitty. Here. President Abdul Aziz. Vice President Kramer. Here. Meeting adjourned at 6:02. I got a lot done in 2 hours.